Hello, welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't African, the talk show that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the so called African American didn't find his way to America in the trunk of a ship. I'm your host, the Indigenous One. And today we're going to talk about something that I find very perplexing in the African American community. And, with all the things that are going around in the world today, and you see it, how we continue to keep putting ourselves in the back of the line when it comes to human activity. I want to give a couple of examples to set this up so you can see what I'm talking about. So, if you've been paying attention for the last week or so, you're seeing, excuse me, I'm trying to do something online and I'm just pressing the wrong buttons. Forgive me. If you've been paying attention to what's been happening, um, just in the world today. And I want to make something perfectly clear because this is something that we have to understand. You know, we can't keep saying that we're being dogged out by people when other people are being dogged out the same way and as much as we are. That's what I mean about us having tunnel vision. The African American doesn't seem capable of looking out around the world and see what's happening to everybody else because like most people who are selfish are, they only look at what's happening to them. So if you see what's going on around the world, the big story that's going on around the world is that people, this pedophile thing is starting to hit big time. Now, for those people who think and for those people who know, we already know that this has been going on for years. I mean, I mean, 1800s at least, and I'm sure before then. But in the so-called white community, they have dogged that community out with the pedophile thing. And please don't get me wrong, it goes on in the so-called black community or the African American, probably more so in the white community. And I'm pretty sure it does. But what you've been seeing in the last week is that these people are coming out and they're like, we can't do this anymore. There's all kind of information out on the pedophile thing, but they're starting to come out because these people sacrifice children, they kill children, they do all kind of heinous things. And so the so-called white people, they're starting to speak up. Unfortunately, the African American doesn't do that. They don't share information to the mainstream so we can be ready for it and we can fight against it. We just keep, long as we get a job, long as we get a movie role, long as we get a pat on the head, we're with this. Now, a lot of people, you're going to be upset with the language. If you are, please leave. But just remember this before you go. I'm just calling out what I see, what a lot of people see. You participate in it. You do it. You make the actions, but you're pissed off because somebody says it. That's not a good look. So these people are letting you know, I mean, it's big time now, it's all over. And there's a video online where a woman talks about she's an ex-nun and she talks about as a nun what was done to her by being a nun. I would suggest everybody check it out. It's a cold piece. But one of the things I want to talk about with the so-called African American is they're hell bent on not learning stuff. They're hell bent on when they get information, they won't even think about it. They'll just stay stuck into what they know. And it ain't no excuse for that. Now, then you have a whole bunch of people, because the person stays stuck, they'll come and say, Buck, don't be talking about people like that. They just don't know. Those people are the one who helped keep the people in that lockdown mental state. because there's plenty of so-called African Americans that will do anything for a dollar, anything for a dollar to make sure that the people remain stupid. And you know, males and females. This is not. This is not. This is not male or female or anything like that. This is what we do. So these people are coming out talking about pedophiles, and I think it's very important that we pay attention to that because the world is changing, y'all, and I know you see it. The world is changing. Either we're going to go ahead and change ourselves, or either we're going to go down with this ship because this evil shit that's going on, we can't keep participating in it and think that uh, some sky god is going to come out of the sky and save us. It doesn't work like that. We should know this. We should be teaching 5-year-olds this stuff, but we don't do it. We refuse to teach our children anything that will help us, help them in the future. We just like being kept, stuck on stupid. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is, which to me is really getting old and it's really getting kind of stupid, is because we don't learn. It's like we have a version of learning, and it's the way that we view ourselves. So I'm just talking to a guy in the group, and I'm talking to a guy in the group, and he's using this term to describe people. He's using this term dark. We the dark people and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, dude, we're not dark people. So I give him the definition of the word dark, the etymology of the word dark, because remember, they give you the definition. And this is where the African American gets stuck, and the African American can evolve and say, okay, boom, I learned that. Let me go ahead and change my frame of reference to life about what I found out new. The African American is incapable of doing this. And I say incapable of doing it because he doesn't do it. She doesn't do it. They will stay stuck in bullshit for their whole life before they even change their mind. So here you have this man, he's calling people dark. And so it's like I said earlier, they give you definitions of what they say it is. Because remember, the African American is trained much like a dog. Seriously. We don't question anything. They tell us what to do, and happily to get pat on the head. That's what we do. We don't question nothing. We don't ask questions. We don't pontificate on nothing. Whatever they say, the African American does. Right? Exactly. So the brother calls himself dark, and they give us definitions. But I'm like, brother, hey, look at the history of the word. The word dark means no light. The word dark, while they give you the definitions, they take the history of the word, and those are called the etymology of the word. And I would suggest that everybody look this up because it's very important that we know this. And this is how we're all confused. And we've been saying this for 20 years. The etymology of the word is the history of the word and how that word has been used over the centuries. So they give you the definitions and they take the etymology. That's why, and please, I don't want you to think that I'm saying how this is going to change the way our relationship to these people, because it's not. We have to look at ourselves in a different way to make our relationship different from what it is to the rest of the world now. Because now We refer to ourselves as the words we use. So when you use the word dark, you're calling yourself gloomy. When you use the term dark, you're calling yourself dirty. When you use the word dark, you're not this is I'm talking about this is how you look at yourselves. So here's the etymology of the word dark. It's a Middle English word that has nothing to do with you. These are what the people who come from Middle England thinks about the word dark. It's from Old English. It means without light, lacking light or brightness. Now, when they're talking about people, they're talking about intelligence. Oh, indigenous one, how do you know that? Because every time they talk of the Statue of Liberty is holding up the light so the world can see. But you, on your own land, for those of you who know that African Americans ain't African, you call yourself dark, lacking light or brightness, obscure, not really there, gloomy, sad, cheerless, sinister, wicked. This is what we're calling out to the world. This is what we are. Because remember, they don't look at the world through your eyes, they look at the world through their eyes. That's why they make definitions for you. You pick it up, won't study nothing. And many of you, when I bring this definition, when I bring this etymology of the word to you, you get pissed off. Oh, that motherfucker don't know what he's talking about. I can call myself whatever I want to call myself. This is how the African American gets down. So we call ourselves these terms. And remember, words, words are very powerful. And when you have people, especially when you have a nationwide, a continent wide of people calling themselves dark and black and dark, it transposes itself through the culture big time. And that's what the people say. That's what the people say. This is what you want to be called. This is what you want to be treated. You don't call yourselves with your people. You don't call yourself Amasi. You don't call yourselves Chickasaw. You don't call yourselves the terms that your people laid out for themselves. Other people can come call you what they want to call you. And you will take what they call you and you will take it and call yourself that. You will call your children that. You will call your mama that. You will call your husband that. You will call your wife that. And then when somebody comes along, and people have been saying this for years, call yourself who you are, what you are. And but we about to move into 2020. And for you not to know who you are, for you to keep using that excuse, I didn't know who I was. That's dead. There are no excuses. With the way of the world is going right now, there is no excuse for us to be in the position that we are in. That's the excuse we keep giving ourselves. And that's not working. And those of y'all that's going to stay stuck there, stay stuck. And but the ones of us who know better, we blowing that shit away because it's not working. And as a species on this planet, either we are going to be extinct or we're going to thrive. And only the weak ones become extinct. So this term dark we keep using. We keep using these terms. We don't use the terms that would be advantageous to us. We always use the terms that make us look stupid. And other people use them. Well, you call yourself dark. It's like the term nigger. We get mad, other people call us nigger, but you use it every day, 24/7. And think it's cool just because you too lazy to find out who your people was. See that's the part where I'm like, we damn dude, we not even trying to learn nothing. We'll learn something in the first grade and we will take it to the grave. You don't evolve that way. And you will teach your children something that you learned in the first grade in 1950. In 2020, your grandchildren to be knowing the same stuff that's been outdated and played out. And they will take that further into their lives and teach their children that. Why? Because the mothers and fathers before them didn't evolve and learn anything new. So that's why we say African American and African, find out who your people were. What did your people call themselves? The average African American are even too lazy to do that. They don't care. And you have no excuse for it. Just simply go find out where your people lived. It would take you 5 minutes to do it. 5 minutes. If that. If you thought about it, it would come to you instantaneously. We are too lazy to do that. So when you call yourself these terms like dark, it translates to them. They saying, oh, that they idiots. They're lacking light. They don't have no intelligence. Now that's what you're saying to them. To you, you try to make it sound all proud. I'm a dark man. We'll get to the next one later. But the translation to other people is, and they know what they've done. You're telling them that I lack light, I lack intelligence, because you are not speaking your language, don't even know what it is. Yet you're always pissed off at those of us who tell you, hey man, who was your people? Where's your grandmama from? Well, my grandmother was from the Black Warrior Indian in Alabama. Okay, well, what's around there that will connect you to that? And that's what you are. We refuse to do that. Now, that's what the term dark. There's another term that's just as bad, that's just as stupid, and we can't get out of. And I did a trick, and I well, it wasn't a trick. Uh, I did an experiment, and it worked immediately. The other term that we use to describe ourselves is black. Now, everybody look at their cell phone, and with your cell phone is black. Everybody look at their cell phone, and are you that? Do you look like that? The answer is no. We won't. We will keep calling ourselves that. So the experiment I tried in the group is somebody took a picture of, I mean, it was some artist or something like that, and they colored this guy black. You can find this picture on the internet somewhere. This guy was literally black. I put that picture up in the group and everybody went crazy. Oh, you trying to be funny, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. You call yourself black every day. This is how you refer to yourself, is that. I thought if I put the picture up, you would look at the picture like you look at a picture of Jesus. We don't do that. This is what I mean. We cannot have the generations that behind us being this damn stupid. So we put up a picture of a guy who was literally black, and the people went crazy, cussed me out. And when I asked them, well, isn't this what you call yourself? They're stuck. They're like, well, yeah. So if you're calling yourself this, and I put up a picture of what you call yourself, shouldn't I get a pat on the back? Shouldn't you say, hey man, that's a cool picture? Nah, because the picture of the black dude, he looks like a monster. He looks horrible. He doesn't look like nobody you know. And if you saw somebody like that in real life, you would run away. Yet you refer to yourself as that. So here's the etymology of the word black. And I'm saying with other technology we have now, there was no reason for us to be as dumb as we are. This is black, this is Old English. Absolutely dark. That's the first phrase they give you. Absolutely dark. What does that mean if you go look up the etymology of the word dark? No light, no intelligence. And they saying right for the definition of this is absolutely absorbing all light, the color of soot or coal. Who do you know that looks like that? So if I called your mama black, that's why you get offended. Yet you refer to yourself as this. You have some of your highest scholars. You have some of your highest scholars, some of the people who have been teaching this bullshit for years, call you that, and you will jump on their bandwagon and support them. Give them millions of dollars because this is how they refer to you. This is the African American at work. Burned. The same root word that produced black, the connecting notions being perhaps fire, burned. The Old English word for black was swart. This is German stuff. And this is what I mean. These are definitions that other people invent. You take on what they invent and apply it to yourself. Why do we do that? So we'll turn our back on what our people told us that we were and pick up this new stuff and apply it to ourselves, then have an excuse for it when we find out, hey, this is not what we're supposed to be calling ourselves. Everybody know that the term black doesn't mean nothing cool. Everybody knows that the term black, nobody is black, but yet we use that term. We teach our babies to to refer to themselves as that. Really? Then this is the cold part about it. This is the cold part about it. We won't even stop and look at it and think, hey, maybe this is not what I want to call myself. Because it's not what other people call you, it's how you see yourself. And that's what I mean what's happening in the world today. The relationship that we have with all these immigrants is because we look down on ourselves, and and they know we look down on ourselves, and they know that they can take advantage of us. And all I'm saying is I think it's time that we look at ourselves in a different way to change the relationship dynamics. Because I don't care how many times you use the word black, it doesn't help us. The term black power, whatever happened to that? Black has no power. And the people, the foreigners who came over here and kicked your ass while you was using that term know that. We haven't, that's been 50 years ago. We haven't learned from that. Because the African American is incapable of learning. The African American is incapable of evolving. That's why the stuff that we were talking about 100 years ago is still going on today. And don't get me wrong, you have many of your scholars, you have many of these dudes calling yourselves that. You have guys saying they are related to people who told you these things in the 1800s. They told you about using these terms and stuff. And you have people who claim they are descendants of those people, and they will use those terms. And the African American will support those people. Because you got to remember, many people in African Americans, the so-called, the ones that got it going on, that you look up to, the ones that you love, the ones that you adore, are the same ones who was throat fucking your ass. And that's being nice. You don't mind turning your children over to that. So it's like the brother I was talking to today. He's a young man and he's trying to learn. And so he goes, "Oh, well, what about Tupac?" I'm like, "What about him? He was one of the greatest rappers ever." I'm like, "Dude, Tupac was an asshole." "Well, why do so many people love him?" "Well, you tell me why you love him. What did Tupac do? What is Tupac known for? What is he known for?" And Negroes get upset, but this is what this cat did. What positive impact did Tupac Shakur make to the so-called African American community? The picture of him in a bathtub with his legs spread wide open when he's got all that jewelry between his legs. Look at the video of the men who shooting that picture, and you tell me you would put yourself in that position, or you would be cool with your daughter being in that position, especially the men taking the pictures. I wouldn't call themselves men, especially the trans or whatever they were taking the pictures. What else? What else is Tupac known for? The tattoo thing. Wasn't he one of the forerunners into making sure that you write on yourself like you do? Are you serious? See, it's easy to write on yourself because that means you don't have to change internally. You can change your body outwardly, but internally you can't. You won't. And then if you 16 years old and you get a tattoo by 17, you don't want it. Why? Hopefully because you grow. Hopefully because you evolve. Isn't that what Tupac is known for? Getting a tattoo, but not his mom on his chest, on Cleopatra. This mother got a tattoo of Cleopatra on him. A, a chick who sold out her people. But you think it's cool. I can do whatever I want to do, nigga. You don't tell me what I can do. That's the average so-called African Americans mentality. What else? What else is he known for? Thug. Thug. Didn't he have tattooed thug on his body? And I would really, really impress upon you people to check out Shay Davis. This dude got some stuff on Tupac that'll blow you away. And all you got to do is think about it, because we think when we get in this entertainment, we know these people personally. No, they are characters. These people are characters to do things to keep the people in check. And I mean, this stuff is, you can see it through all this entertainment, through all this music, for all the people who want their music back. They say George Clinton, for those of you who don't know who George Clinton is, Parliament Funkadelic. This brother music was so innovative, he has lost over $1 billion because other people stole his music. You have people like Prince and Michael Jackson, who these cats wrote music that people love, but other people stole it. And we think everything is cool. This is the industry that we push our children to. This is the industry that our children, we don't have our own mediums. We don't have our own way to get out messages. We refuse to do that. And we refuse to do that is because how we look at ourselves. If you look at yourself as black, you're not gonna do anything. If you look at yourself as dark, you're not gonna do anything. This is simple. This is simplicity at its finest. African. I mean, serious, because I mean, really, that's getting old. Your great great grandmama was an African. And so this is the idiocy that goes on in the so-called African American community. This is the idiocy that goes on. You call yourself Africans, yet Africans are fleeing their country. Explain that. I'll give you a minute. I'm looking on the chat room. Explain how you do that. Explain how you refer to yourself as people. Explain how you do that. Explain how you call yourself people and the people that you call yourself are running over here to take your place. Explain that. Explain how that's done and explain how that makes sense. And we stay stuck in this. We don't say, hey man, you know what? We can't do that no more. Let's go ahead and change. We refuse to do that. We refuse to do. I mean, not everybody. I'm glad the listeners are, we're getting some people to learn that they're not African Americans. And some people, when they come across this information, they first thing they do, they hit their families up for information. All you got to do is ask what your oldest aunt and uncle. That's what they're there for. Ask your grandmother and grandfather. They'll tell you. But we stay stuck on what the society give us to keep us locked in this mental mind fuck that we find ourselves in. We won't. You have brothers. So there's a couple of other things that's been happening too. Uh, you got this post of this sister. She's in getting her feet done. And this is one of the most embarrassing things you'll ever see. This sister's getting her feet done, and the people that are doing her feet are calling her nigga. She's asking them, why I gotta be a nigga? No, why are you sitting in their chair giving them your money? You see how we do? We won't take that money from that and teach our daughters how to do pedicures and take that industry over. We just go sit in the chair. And anytime you in those places, I want you to look at and pay attention to the sisters who getting that stuff done. They have this arrogant attitude about it. They have an arrogant attitude like, so those people are dead, man. And they're teaching your daughters to be dead, and they're teaching their kids and sons to be dead. What do Asian women come over here to your country? This is yours. What do Asian women come over here and get from you? What is that? What do they get from you? And if you went over to their countries and you set up shop, would they support you? The answer is no. So the question is, how can anybody come over here and you support them big time, thinking that you're going to survive? Like, explain how that happens. Explain. We never can explain what we do. You ask a brother or sister a question, they can't answer the question. Where do you how long or how far do you think we're going to get with that? We don't even think. Anybody can say anything to us and we're okay. Whatever you say, boss. Whatever you say. Why do we do that? There's another, and this is countrywide. I know using social media, We get little snippets of what's going on. But this is how the African American gets down. You have you have a group of African Americans in a restaurant. I mean, it's one of the. I mean, those chain restaurants, we keep those afloat, and they serve the shittiest food. I bet you that most of that shit ain't even food. Pay attention to the Negro when they go into these restaurants and they eating. Pay attention to their attitudes. Pay attention to what they do. Pay attention to how they look, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So you got a bunch of these Negroes in this restaurant, and so the thing is calling the police on black folks. So I mean, this should be letting everybody know that this is what's happening today. This is it for the people, for those of you who think, because that's all I'm really talking to those who think. Those of you who don't think, you ain't gonna even get what I'm saying. So what they're doing today lets you know what they're gonna be doing tomorrow. I mean, you get that? No, it's not hard for some to understand, but what people are doing today lets you know what's coming down the pike. It- is that simple to understand? That's why people don't want you in their neighborhoods. That's why people don't want you near their children, because they know how you act. And they know if their children are with you, their children are going to turn out different than what the parent trained them to be. It's simple. This is not rocket science. You don't have to be an engineer to figure this stuff out. So you have all these African Americans in this restaurant. I forget the name of it. I forget the name of, but it's one of them Chili's or something like that. Just a real shithole of a restaurant. We think it's gourmet food. We spend billions of dollars in those places a day, a day, licking our fingers and shit. So, of course, somebody called the police on these Negroes, and the cops come and say, "We don't want you in this restaurant." Do you know that these Negroes sat and argued? How come we can't come in this restaurant? Because you're not wanted. Go build your own restaurants, Negro, so you can employ your children, so you can give some jobs to your people. Build your own restaurants. The African American, I don't give a shit where they at, what kind of education they have. They, the majority, 97, 98% don't even think of that. Well, start your farm, start growing your own meat, start eating the food that your people ate. That would get rid of some of the diseases you have. We won't do that. We don't think about that. The police came and told these people, you can't go in the restaurant. Do you know these Negroes sat up and argued? You know who they sounded like when they were talking? That cat in Georgia, John Lewis, the one that got beat up on that bridge down in Selma. This is how these brothers sound. I can eat wherever I want to eat. Yeah, you can, but you can't eat in this restaurant, nigga. And they didn't let them in, and they didn't go in. This is what I'm talking about. Why are you so hell bent on giving people your money, people that don't even want you there, people that you don't even know what they doing to your food, people that are writing on pieces of paper that you don't even know what they're writing? They could be writing on the ticket, exterminate these niggas. You wouldn't even know. You just happy to be in there. This is what the civil rights people have taught the generations that you're seeing now. Really? Somebody don't want you. And if I treated you like that, if you came to my house and I treated you like that, you would never speak to me again and wouldn't care less. But you think you have to go claw your way into a place that don't want you there. And you honestly think that they're giving you, I mean, why would you even want somebody near what you put in your body thinking like that about you? This is how the African American gets down. 80% of the food that's on the planet comes from America. Go look it up. When you were farming, what do you think the people were? When you were on the money in the 1860s, why were you on the money farming? Because you cultivated all the food here. You hear about the people that came over here, they was starving. Their teeth was rotted out their mouth. They saw how your people was doing the food and was like, damn. But we don't know about that because we African, we black, we dark. People come up and name you all kind of stuff. You take on those names. Here's the perfect example of how that went. So recent generations can see, because I like to give examples so you can see what I'm talking about, to let you know that I'm not just talking out the side of my neck. I always go back to the year 1988, because that's when two things very important happened. That's when they put the term African American on you. And it also was around the time a group called NWA came out. And to me, for me, now I know everybody else, you love music now, but in 1988, to me, the music just died because it didn't have what it had when I was growing up to it. The group NWA came out and there was some shit music, and they came out with a song. And the reason this is important, because I have a cousin that we're around the same age, and he loved it. And me and him would get into it because I was like, it's shit music, man. They came out with a song called "A Bitch Is a Bitch," calling the females bitches. Do you know the sisters was bouncing to that? They was nodding their heads to that. They was clapping to that. So for some dudes calling them a bitch. This is what I mean, how we take names and what people call us, we take it and we make it personal. This is where the African American is. So here they call it now. Africa is another term that they call themselves. That's not a term that you created for yourself. You look at Dr. Ben, Dr. Ben worked for the UN. There's plenty of information out there. This is what I'm saying. You in the information age, and the African American don't want no information. He doesn't want his kids to have information. The African American, the majority of them, trust me, it's not all of them. It's about 98, 97% of African Americans will look you in the eye and tell you, I can be dumb if I want to. You don't tell me what to do. You ain't my daddy. I've had sisters say that to me. I can be dumb if I want to. And I'm like, well, what about your kids? They can't really come out and say it, but they think about it. That's why I'm like I am now. We don't have no time for bullshit, y'all. We don't have no time to be dumb. We getting erased. And I know y'all see it. And so the reason why people don't really want to talk about it, because we have to do something. So when I hear all these guys talk about this black thing, I'm like, okay, well, how are we going to feed ourselves? Don't we have to have land for that? We have land for that, but many of us, we don't want to work it. We don't want to get our hands dirty. We don't want to do something that will make us grow. You mean all the images you see of the indigenous people here in America? They didn't have diabetes. They didn't have all these cancers. Why? Because they cultivated food for themselves that would make them grow. This is what we refuse to do. We get mad. We get upset instead of looking at this thing in a way that would work for us. Here's an example. This is what I was telling a young brother today. This is something that we don't see. One of the things that the African American is selfish, and that's in the individualism that he finds himself in. See, when you look at life as an individual, it's like you looking at five fingers on a hand, and you take one of your fingers off and you put it across the room, and you're not attached to the hand no more. That's how the African American thinks. That's what the African American believes about itself. So when you see a whole bunch of Mexicans living in a house and you paying $2,000 a month for a one bedroom apartment, and they got 15 people living in there, 15 goes into 2,000 how many times? They paying less than $200 a month while you're paying 2,000 a month. How are you going to get ahead of that? I can't live with nobody. You live with a whole bunch of people when you coming up. And the answers we give and the excuses we give are embarrassing. I'm gonna live by myself. When you live by yourself, you die faster. Isn't that obvious? Can't we see that? We can't pick a sister out in the community to make sure that everybody's eating healthy food every day, where we ain't gotta go out to all these restaurants that don't want you there. We don't say, hey, this would be better for us. We don't have grandmothers that would teach our children. We can't open up schools and in old abandoned apartment buildings, have some brothers come in and refurbish these apartment buildings and make them schools for us so we can train our children. We're not thinking of that. I mean, for survival. No, everybody's about to get ready and spend trillions. Check this out. We about to spend trillions of dollars for back to school. And you're going to put your kids in another years to be trained to be dumb as hell. How do I know? Because that's what you did. It doesn't bother you that 60% of the young males are dropping out of school. You don't question why. Dr. Barbara Sizemore told you why. Dr. Barbara Sizemore, she was the first sister who was the superintendent of schools in DC. Check that sister out and see what and she was a superintendent. So she had worked her way up, but when she got there, she saw what it really was. They teaching you to be dumb. That's why these boys are having problems in school, because it's not teaching them anything. And you keep every year after year after year after year, you send them there to be mind fucked like that and wonder why they're in the position they're in. And you went through the same process yourself. And so we go to school and we think that, oh, since I got a job, no, it's not, you don't have a job. You think since you're giving your energy to these foreigners, you're helping them build their empire on your land. And you got to remember this. And this is what so called African Americans better remember. We all die in here. We all die. But when you die, you take what you have with you, your morals, your thoughts, your feelings. So if you come back again or wherever you end up, so I'm thinking African Americans ain't Africans, and I'm thinking, hey, this is our homeland. Hey, we should be using this for our benefit and stop making sure the rest of the world gets it. See, 98% of African Americans, that's how they think. So what I'm thinking, what I'm believing, I'll take that with me. So when I because remember, energy can neither be created or destroyed. So whenever I come back, it's like you dropping a pebble in the middle of a lake. That you dropping that pebble, that's you being born. The waves coming out from those pebbles are you evolving until you hit the shore, till you die. Now, these are stories that your people taught about life. You don't know nothing about that. That's why it sounds like I'm talking Mandarin Chinese to you now, because you don't, huh? What you, I ain't never heard that before. What do you mean? You won't even go look at the stories of what your people taught. Other people come over and take those stories and they use them for their benefit. You believe in a Jesus character. You believe in a story where men can create babies. I mean, these are 70 and 80-year-old people. This is what you believe. And damn near all beliefs are a lie. You should know that now by the definition of the word, by the way the word is constructed. So going back to these cats in this restaurant, these cats, I mean, it was a contingent of so-called African Americans going to eat at these restaurants. So let's say that's about, we'll be on the low end because once Negroes get that drink in them, I mean, the bar tab will go up. So let's say these 10 Negroes spent about $500. That's doable for a restaurant, for one setting, for people to come and sit an hour. These people don't want you in their restaurant. The looks on their faces, they got that look on like some stank. You will stand up and assert your right. I can eat anywhere I want to eat. I can give my money to who I want to give it to because that's what you're saying. This is the so-called African American. So how we see ourselves, how we look at ourselves, is how we look at ourselves. Is it advantageous to the foreigners or is it advantageous to us? These are things that 3 and 4-year-olds got to know. Because if you in this same position, and they keep, what they keep trying to do, they keep trying to give you numbers. In the year 2050, such and such is going to happen. In the year 5050, you look, and all you have to do is project. You got 30 years. That's almost 2 generations. Where are you going to be in 2 generations? Where are we going to be as a people in 2 generations? Because number one, we're not really into children. That's why you have all these people coming up talking about this pedophile now. Where are the African American actors and actresses? I know you got this dude Terry Crews. That's just one. But if it's happening to them, what do you think is happening to these sisters who are trying to get into Hollywood? And you know what we'll do for money. We know this is a demonic system, but yet we try try to tear it down, try to tear the door down to get in. These people are getting tired, y'all. And as long as they don't, and we keep trying to get in, create your own thing. You haven't created your own media platforms yet. You got to go get on their TVs. Oscar Michaud told you years ago in the 40s, create your own movie studios. We won't do that. How come your so called actors and actresses won't do that? Because they're a part of the same system. How come you won't educate your children? What's wrong with that? The world would have more respect for you if you did that. You would be creating employment for your children. And guess what? The rest of the world would want what you want. I mean, the rest of the world would want what you create. Why? Because everybody knows who you are. You don't. And refuse to learn. So now when you ask these, since these people been in African Americans ain't Africans, you ask them, they like, damn, my grandmama come from the Arkansas mountains. Boom. What were those people in the Arkansas mountains called? Well, they lived up in the Ouachita Mountains. They were the Ouachita people. Who were those people? Then they start digging out and they be like, God damn. No, they weren't Ouachita Moors. Those are people who come in trying to steal your heritage. And since you don't know who you are, anybody can come tell you what you are. That's how it goes. And one of the things that makes it possible for all these people to do what they do is because we help. We make sure we're obliterated. We got brothers in all these ideologies: Hebrew Israelites, Africans, Moors, Christians, Muslims. Why are you taking all these foreign ideologies and teaching your kids that that's what they are, but won't teach your children that who their people were? Why do you do that? Why is that so important? How do you feel that it's cool to teach your children that they're Hebrew Israelites? And the story's not even about you. It's about some other people. People who wandered around in the desert for 40, in a desert. How dumb do you got to be to wander around in a desert for 40 years? And how are they going to come over here to America, which was a forest? If they came from Europe, they came on the East Coast. And if you read about how the East Coast was, if you know how the East Coast was, all it was part of the Amazon rainforest. They came over here and started ripping down your trees and tearing down your forest, and you helped. Read the stories about your people on the East Coast. We're gonna have some brothers coming in here from some nations up there in uh, Connecticut, New York, New Hampshire area, and they're gonna share some information. It's gonna be later on this week. So please be paying attention to it because we got to have these brothers talk about it because their relationship with these foreigners are a lot longer than the peoples in the South, the people on the West Coast. They'll let you know what these people did and what these people said to them and how these people tricked them out, how these people killed them off, and how some of these brothers you got because you had some of these brothers joined the French because all of Europe came over here to attack you. All of Europe came over here and attacked you. That's why you got so many different nationalities from over there over here. And what many of us did, instead of standing up with our people, if we have to be obliterated from this planet, so be it. But we're not going to be. We joined them in helping kill us off. You think I'm lying? See Buffalo Soldiers. See the police departments all over America. See all the governmental offices. You do anything for money. And people who come over here from other countries, they know this how we are. And this is the embarrassing as hell part. You take your money and you buy their products with them. You won't even support your own people with them. This is how the African American gets down. So this is how we see ourselves. This is how the African American sees himself. If we see ourselves like that, how do you think other people see us? And does that make their job easy or does it make their job harder? So we're gonna get into some of the people in the chat room now. And if you have guys have any questions, I'll go ahead and give a shout out, your name, and the question you ask. And I want to pose the question to the listeners in the chat room because we have some highly intelligent people who looking at this thing because everybody's in the same position, but it's because we look at ourselves as individuals. We think we separated from. I don't understand how any of us can look at ourselves as individual, especially with what's going on today. This is what we do. So the Black Consciousness Fraud Committee says Africans are not our friends. When have they tried to help us? So that's what I mean. So that's what I mean about it. Ask yourself. So were there Africans in the civil rights movement? No. Was there Africans helping when they was dogging you out at East St. Louis? No. Were there Africans trying to help you in the move when they blew up Philadelphia? No. But you call yourself African. Those people call themselves Africans, and no Africans was around. You see how dumb we make ourselves look? This is what I believe. This is how we think. Tomahawk Tony says, establish your consistency and performance for you and yours. Seriously. I mean, this is simple stuff. How you consistently going into McDonald's eating that bullshit? You mean by now we don't have a national chain of restaurants that we can support and that we can build for ourselves and do for ourselves? How come we're not thinking about having our own currency? You better not talk like that. Massa ain't gonna like that. How come we don't have our own currency? You once had your own currency. How come you don't create your own currency? All of it is fiat anyway. Why don't you produce your own currency? Brooklyn Lady says Africans came here to get benefits in our struggle. You absolutely right. The African Americans will push anybody in front of them and get to the back of the line themselves, right? All immigrants are here to steal your resources. I don't see how nobody sees that. See, the people I went to school with, they would think this was some Satan worship, what we're talking about right now. I know Negroes that says it's for everybody. You think if you go over to Russia and say this is yours, what do you think those Russians would do? They'll kick your monkey ass out of Russia. Put yourself, family, tribe, community under protection of the law of the hands as identifying of people of this land. American Indian 2020. Don't call yourself aboriginal. Break down these words. Remember that these people didn't have these words back 50, 100, 200 years ago. Aboriginal means not original. I know what they say, but they're not here to help you. They're not here to teach you words that you can use for yourself and your own benefit. We should know this by now. Aboriginal simply means not original. I mean, damn, y'all. It's that simple. They mix words, they mix languages, they mix terms to suit their benefit, not yours. That's why you call yourself what your people were. To avoid all that shit. You think they're gonna give you words and terms to help you take the chains off yourself? The African American does not understand this. The African American refuses to change. This is what they say in their law books. Their law is shit. You haven't noticed that yet? So you're gonna keep thinking you're gonna use words and terms to it hasn't worked, it's not working, nor will it work in the future. They're not gonna give you words and terms to liberate yourself. We should know that it's taken forever. We won't even look at a word and say, oh, that's what that means. This is what this prefix means. And they put it with this word. So if they take this prefix and put it with this word, so you would just say the original people. Why would they call them aboriginal? If original means the first ones. The average nigga don't even think of it that way. Well, boss said we aboriginals. That's what it is. We aboriginals. No, stupid. Original means what? In their terms. Why would you put a prefix on it that changed that whole word up? And then argue about it. This is where the African American is. Anybody can tell you anything because you don't think. Come on. The African American doesn't think. He don't believe, and his head hurts. They can come up with a term. You call yourself a dog, right? These are the cats in college. They call themselves dogs, right? They bark. I hear brothers barking. Why don't you make the sounds of any of the animals here in America? Huh? Huh? Why don't you make the sounds of the animals? Here's an example. This is what I mean about people who using their minds to benefit them. There's an animal in North America called the pronghorn. I know you don't know about it because you into dogs and lions and blah blah. That's what you refer yourselves to. This is the mental mind fuck that goes on in the so-called African American community. The pronghorn is the fastest land animal. It can outrun a cheetah. Why don't you call yourself that? I don't know nothing about it. You don't know nothing. You don't know nothing. Excellent part in the movie Claudine. When Claudine youngest daughter, Claudine youngest, they poor as dirt. And Claudine daughter is going out trying to, find out where she fit in the world, and she winds up getting pregnant, like most sisters do. And Claudine is mad at her daughter and beats her daughter, and her daughter tells her, Mama, I don't have nothing. I don't know nothing. I'm nothing, Mama. This is what we teach our children to be. We can put on some eyelashes. We can put on some weaves. We know how to make other people rich. But in doing it for ourselves, we don't even try it. So why not our people? How come we always, why we call ourselves dogs? Asian people don't look at dogs how Europeans look at it. Asian people look at dogs as food. That's what they serve you in the communities that you live in. And you have grown accustomed to it. You don't make no, you don't eat rabbit, you don't eat turkey, you don't eat the animals that your people ate. You will eat anything. All they got to do is put some teriyaki, some sweet and sour sauce, and it can be alive. You eating it so fast, you just swallow it. This is how the African American gets down. So the pronghorn is an animal that runs faster than a cheetah, longer than a cheetah. Why doesn't the so-called black man refer to that? That's one of the animals that is indigenous to the land. You know this animal. It's in your DNA, but you don't tap into it. Other people come tell you what you are, and that's what you be. If somebody come name you a nigga, guess what you'll call yourself? They got a new term out now. What is it, Tomahawk Tony? Niggy, Nidgy, Nidgy. So I hear that's one of the terms now because they see that this indigenous thing is picking up. So they gonna put out all kind of name. Nidgy. Fool, you didn't even write with you didn't even write with these letters. Yet you gonna take what somebody tell you and try to call yourself that. This is how we end up in last place all the time. And then this is the cold part about it. You turn your back on what your people told you that they were. You turn your back on what your people told you that they were. So if your people say, you know what, figs have all the nutrients we need. You can eat one fig and it'll keep you alive for one day. It'll keep your cholesterol down. It'll make your hair grow. It'll make your nails grow. Blah, 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 blah. Figs. I don't know if that's what it does. I'm not saying it does. I'm just giving an example. We don't. Somebody would tell us, nah, that's not what figs do. But if you eat a Snickers bar, that'll make your nails grow. That'll make your hair grow, a Snickers bar. This is how the African American gets down, y'all. And so, in closing, I want to say this: I am not here to put down the indigenous people, but we find ourselves in a precarious situation, y'all. The majority of us, and when I say dumb, I'm not trying to offend dumb people because I know dumb people. Hey, don't call them dumb because these niggas are beyond dumb. I mean, we're not even trying. Get with people, find out who your people are, find out where they live, because 10 times out of 10, some of them still gonna be there. You don't connect with them because they don't act how you act. Because see, the people that live in the cities, they have to act a certain way to maintain their position in the cities. The people who live in the country, they act according to nature. See, the people in the cities, they're the ones who fled. So you see all them people in Chicago, them people fled from Mississippi. All the people you see in New York, they fled from down there in Virginia, North Carolina, blah blah blah. Some of the surrounding cities there. I'm not saying that indigenous people weren't in New York because they were, but a lot of the people influx of jobs and stuff. So like a lot of people that's in Detroit now, they're from Alabama. Why? Because I can go get me a job up there. How come you don't produce your own car? You used to do it. but you thought you'd be cuter. You thought you can pick up more chicks driving their cars and not producing anything for yourself. And the reason you didn't produce anything for yourself is because it was easier to help him build your empire, to help him build his empire on your land. And now look at it. You go to Detroit now and you go to some of them cities in Indiana and Michigan. And what do they look like? They're shitholes now because those people moved those industries out of those areas and left those areas a mess. What are you going to do about it? Black King. You always calling yourself these terms, and the terms that you call yourself, that's not what you are. You're saying that because of your ego. You know you getting dogged out. And this is especially for the black man. How dare you join these foreign ideologies? Islam. Are you serious? Are you serious? Really? You would take on a foreign name and put your people's name, throw that away, and pick up a foreign name and be that. What do you think is going to happen to your children? See, American Indian 2020, more action than talking. Um, the reason we don't have a lot of action is because it takes more than one. It takes more than one person. It takes more than one group to do anything. See, other people, see, Asians, they support each other. They work together. That's why they get stuff done. See, most of our people, I can be stupid if I want to. You won't, the average African American won't even support nothing that his people make. He'll support other foreigners and be proud about it and let you know that he can do what he want to do. And see, I'm getting tired of hearing that. Oh, we need to do action. Okay. So you won't open your own universities? Where's your colleges? How come you don't have pro football teams? You're the one that people come to see. You don't see that? Where's your own basketball teams? Why come you're not building your own stadiums? See, you won't even answer them questions. So when you say action, brother, it takes more than one person. 97, 98% of African Americans they feel more comfortable, they feel more prouder doing it for other people. They don't want you to have nothing. Right? Right? Come on now. Come on now. We don't even want to be who we are. You don't think foreigners don't see that? You don't think they take advantage of that flaw? This is where we are, y'all. And so what I'm saying, and I've heard, they had some elders, and I've had a lot of, most of the people I talk with are sisters that are elders, and and it's important because mothers are the one that teaches us a lot. Males teach us too, but males normally have to go out, and like the brothers say, we got to work together. Brothers are the one that normally goes out and do the farming and stuff and the building, and sisters are the one who's teaching. So a lot of people I talk to are older sisters that's 80, 90 years old. And if you think, and you ought to hear what these sisters got to say about today, they're embarrassed. And these are sisters that have dedicated their lives to making sure that we maintain a stronghold here. And you want to know what they say? We have failed miserably. So we don't have time to and especially I don't have time Find out who your people are. Get with them. Ask them what you did, what you created. And I was serious. Do you really have how much do you think the African American as a whole in the nation pays for cable TV a month? Billions. What could those billions help you do? Or better yet, the man hours that we spend watching that garbage, what could we do? See, these are things we don't think about because the so-called African American that refuses to think about anything. About anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and end it right now. Check us out. Check out African Americans Ain't African.org website. Support us. We have an ebook for you, and if when you get through this ebook, if I doubt if you call yourself African, Christian, Hebrew Israelite, Muslim, Moor. It's simple, y'all. This stuff is simpler than wiping your ass, and you know it. Got to stop being afraid of who you are because other people will come in, and as long as you running away, why you think all these foreigners are coming down here to the south getting 500 and 600 acres? Because the people have moved away to the cities. That ain't my stuff. I know people that won't even go. Mississippi is a beautiful place. Mississippi is one of the most beautiful places in the world. You got a river running through it. They scared you off the land, made you run to Los Angeles and Chicago. I know Negroes in their 60s. I ain't never going to Mississippi. Are you serious? This is the inheritance that your people have left you, and you turned your back on it. Your ass gonna suffer for that. You got a Mississippi River running through your homeland, and you won't even claim it. For real, cuz? So check us out. We got a Facebook group, African Americans Ain't African. Uh, some of the brightest minds we have. Some of the brightest minds we have. Find out who your people were. Simply remember, females are the ones who have the babies. Follow your mama's mama. Who was she? And also follow your father's mothers. Who were these people? Weren't they important? You damn right they were, because without them, there's no you. Find out who those people were. Find out what happened to them. Find out what they did, and you'll start to understand what you have to do. See, we think we're what you call them cats. See, we won't go with that logic. We'll think that we're Hebrew Israelites and that men give birth to women. Because you have a whole bunch of dumb brothers walking around. The man carried a seed. Dude, don't talk. And those brothers that think like that, they get all the support in the world from the so-called African Americans communities. You have brothers. I, a brother told me last week that men can breastfeed babies. This is where we are. This is what we'll teach our children. We'll teach our children that people who sacrifice their children are our people. Isn't this what we teach our people? Isn't this what we teach our children who they are? A lot of this information, a lot of the brainwashing came through New York, and it came through New York because New York is a huge population, and that's where a lot of the foreigners came in at. So that's why you see a lot of the brothers in New York. I mean, the dumb, some of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Find your family, search your families, at least find out who your great great grandmama was. That'll tell you a lot right there. And see, as we're moving forward, so the people that's born in the 60s, well, we done had what, 3 generations since then? That's 3 generations. Just in your life, in 50 years. A generation is what, every 18, every 20 years? Find out who your people are. You don't know what they could have left you. So we're going to go ahead and end it right now. I hope this little talk was, I hope it, helped some people see some things clearly. Keep looking out for that, because it's hitting big time about this pedophile thing that's going on in America now, because a lot of people are tired of it. A lot of people are putting their lives on the line, bringing out this pedophile stuff. And one of the things that you're not hearing about it big time is what happened to the sisters who was in that thing, because you'll see that a lot of sisters who were big time 10, 5, 15 years ago, you don't hear about them no more, because a lot of them don't play that game. So you better start standing up for yourself. You better start looking at yourself in a different way. Better start connecting to your people, to yourselves, because the world is gearing up against you. The world is gearing up against you. And just being dumb and not knowing nothing, I didn't know, nobody told me. That won't be an excuse. You have no excuses. So until next time,